This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. We don't like doing this. I don't like doing this. I definitely walked into yesterday's game being like, there's no way that I'm not going to do a positive podcast on Monday. There's just no way. This team's been spiraling for months. Like, they won the first two on the road in Baltimore. Like, two slumping teams clashed, and the Yankees were the road team, and they came out on top and won the first two. They also, there was a monster, weird little melee brawl in the first one, ignited by Brandon Hyde, and they didn't give Saturday's game back. Like, they didn't fall in the series and let the Orioles take the momentum, and they could literally do anything in this third game, and I'd come on Monday and do a positive podcast. They could lose 88-3, and I would just probably laugh at Carlos Rodon for a couple of minutes and then go back to praising the New York Yankees. Nope, 2021, it's back. Also, 2023, it's back. Blowing a save is one thing. Catastrophic two-out defense, not once but twice, to lose a road contest that it could have technically determined first place for the time being, is as bad as it gets. So we're going to talk about how this might be the worst. The 2020 to 2024 Yankees might be the worst first half close team I can recall. Abominations in 2021 and 2023, and an abomination yesterday. But this one probably takes the cake, just in terms of the fact that you'll never see a game more plainly given away by Anthony Volpe, by Alex Verdugo. Yes, technically by Clay Holmes, but when we're rooting through the garbage and trying to lay blame here, Clay Holmes has to be better. Clay Holmes can't convert 50% of saves. Clay Holmes also recorded 4 outs yesterday before a run scored. So third on my personal blame scale. But Thomas Carannante might feel differently. We'll open up the floor. We'll talk about yesterday's game. We'll talk about the good parts of the series. We'll talk about Brandon Hyde turning an obvious something into something that was the Yankees' fault, which is ridiculous, and potential trade deadline fits, escaping injury. But we're probably mostly going to be talking about this Orioles set because Thursday we'll have to get back into having another show after the All-Star game without any other live action. So we'll talk trade deadline on Thursday. We got too much to wrap up from this O set. Thank you for joining us, 2 o'clock Eastern, except for today, 2:15 Eastern today. Appreciate you hanging out after the delay. Monday, Thursday, all regular season long. Before we get into it, Thomas Carannante has a quick ad read, and then we'll probably just go off for 45 minutes to an hour. And again, we don't want to. We really don't want to, but I do think the subscribers might want us to. So here you go.
Of course they want us to. I'd rather read ads the whole time. Why do I have to do this every week? It's every week now. It's been every week for a month and a half. It's exhausting. But Caesars is here to save the day, man. Caesars Sportsbook. They're looking to cover your first bet up to $1,000. New customers will get a second chance bet up to $1,000 when you sign up with our promo code. Yes, it is ours. YGY1000. That means if your first bet loses, you will get your full wager returned as a bonus bet. Once again, up to $1,000. Any denomination you want, up to that amount. Caesars offers daily profit boosts as well as Caesars rewards credits on every wager, which can be redeemed for bonuses, sports tickets, and other VIP experiences. Signing up with our code, again, YGY1000, not only covers your first bet, but also gets you access to their fantastic rewards program. If you're looking to join Caesars or you got any friends, family members looking to do the same, go download the app, register with our promo code, which is, once again, YGY1000, to make sure that first bet is covered. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 and older and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. The Yankees, for a moment, were physically present in the state of Maryland, in the city of Baltimore, and then for one inning, they disappeared. Didn't exist. And it's unfortunate because, again, we should be talking about a series win. We should be talking about closing the first half strong. We should not be highlighting an 8-18 stretch over the last 26 games that has the Red Sox 4.5 games behind them with the All-Star break here. This team started 50-22. They are now 58-40. It is the same old. Aaron Boone said it again yesterday. Team's waiting to turn a corner. It's all right there in front of us. It's unbelievable what we are witnessing. It is the repetition of history that nobody's learned from. Nobody in this organization, none of these players. I have no word. I mean, I have a lot of words, obviously, but
Too many.
yeah, in terms of what they're doing, I have nothing to add. There is no game analysis to be had. The Orioles went 2 for 22 with runners in scoring position in this series. They have been slumping horribly. The Yankees should have escaped with a sweep. Were we expecting that? Absolutely not. But with the way the first two games transpired, which still had their Yankees flaws within them, we'll go through those. But you absolutely cannot have that exclamation point in the top of the ninth inning yesterday with Ben Rice's home run and then give the game away in the manner in which they did. So let's start with that. Who are we going to blame for this collapse? And it's a good question because there are a bunch of names at fault. Clay Holmes needs to stop allowing base runners, especially when he's facing the fucking bottom of the order.
Kyle Stowers.
Again, it does not stop with this man, and I understand the job of a closer is difficult. But just like every other Yankee, Clay Holmes goes from otherworldly to pumpkin. And while you look at the stats and you're sitting there and you're like, well, the season's not bad. Everything's good. You cannot operate on these extremes during the baseball season. It's not tenable. You're not going to get to the point where you need to. You're not going to be able to survive down the stretch. You're not going to be able to win a postseason series. Again, because you are relying on everything to come together in the perfect storm to lift you to heights that you have not seen at this point since early June. So it's been 6 weeks since this team actually was able to perform at a respectable rate. This was their first time winning back-to-back games in a month. It was their first series win in 7 or 8 tries.
Same series they last won back-to-back games was the last series win. So we're looking at the 4-game set in Kansas City, which also ended with a Clay Holmes meltdown. So we could have been another, of course, the last 2 series wins were series where they took the majority of games and then blew the last one and got walked off on the road. And then we were left saying, wow, I didn't actually know that today could be painful after the results of the first 3, but I guess, yeah, there it is. Same vibe.
Yep. And, Clay Holmes, like I said, has to stop allowing base runners, has to stop putting pressure on the defense. But then again, the defense should be a group of professionals. What Anthony Volpe did, he had a crazy error in the first game too, stumbling over his feet, throwing the ball on a 4-hopper to first base. In addition to his spiraling offense, which is getting worse and worse by the day. And then Alex Verdugo doing what he did in left field. It just goes to show that nobody's ever prepared in unison. When this team spirals or when there's a sight of a spiral, everybody spirals. And the only people who are, I guess, impervious to that are Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Luis Gil. Luis Gil is the only Yankee, I think, so far this season who's been able to go through it in a concerning fashion. That 3-stretch start where he was really awful, but he's bounced back in his last 2 or 3. He's looked great. Can't believe he's actually bounced back in the manner in which he's done, in the manner in which he has. So I'm blaming Anthony Volpe here. I would because judging a fly ball, in my estimation, from playing baseball for many years is a little bit harder than fielding a routine grounder that's hit directly to your glove at a below average speed. I don't know how you don't make that play. And then you look at what Volpe's been doing over his last 41 games. He's unplayable. But the Yankees continue to handle him with kids gloves. They give him preferential treatment. Never before seen a prospect treated like this. The Yankees have treated all of their prospects like dog shit over the years, refusing to reward them for good progress, sending them back down to the minors when they have figured out a way to impress at the big league level. And the moment Anthony Volpe came up after winning the job in spring training, there was no debate. They said to the media, he's not being sent down under any circumstances. Only prospect I've ever seen treated like this. But well below average player. Yes, the defense has improved, but the game from an all-around perspective has not. And to even think that he could be the future cornerstone at shortstop for this organization? Is that if you're holding out hope for that, yes, there is hope. He's 23 years old, but if you're etching it in stone, you're out of your mind, because what we've seen from Anthony Volpe, we maybe have gotten a cumulative 2-ish months of above average Volpe play, and the rest has been ghastly. So that was a pee pants moment where it's clearly unprofessional. You can't handle yourself when there's pressure on the base paths and the game's on the line. And again, a routine 3-hopper ground ball directly into your glove and missing that, to me, has all the blame placed upon it. Then, Holmes giving up a single to the 7-hitter and Verdugo misjudging I guess we can call it a decently tough fly ball, even though it had a 99% catch probability. But again, should not have been in that situation, because that was an out in Anthony Volpe's glove.
Yeah, we're in agreement here. I'm going Volpe first. I mean, I do understand. I thank goodness for catch probability. It helps illuminate things about modern defense that we might not know otherwise, and might not be able to, allows you to judge someone's poor route, with a bunch of data rather than just the eye test. That's got to be an out. Alex Verdugo blew it, right? And he came in and he blew it the moment he came in. Him falling backwards. He wasn't going to get to that ball as soon as he charged in, because 99% catch probability, I mean, they have to be factoring in that you should judge it immediately off the bat properly and go and get it. If he'd done that, he catches the ball. But after he started in, it's over, right? So misjudgment, I mean, the lasting image of him on the ground backtracking, trying to grab the ball and tripping on himself is going to be the lasting image of the game, probably, in the enduring frame. And that's why he said it's on me in the aftermath. But once he started it in, it was over. That was well struck. That carried. Cedric Mullins did what you're supposed to do with the Clay Holmes sinker. And ironically, he got basically the same pitch with a full count in the first game of the series and was late on it, popped it up behind the plate, did it twice. One went foul, one fell in Austin Wells' glove to end that game. He got the same pitch on 0-1 here and did exactly what you're supposed to do with it. Fight it hard, let the velocity do the work, and elevate it rather than get it on the ground. Even though getting it on the ground had proven to be a successful recipe one batter prior when Anthony Volpe fumbled a slow hopper into the ground. But good job of hitting by Cedric Mullins, and Verdugo was fooled, and 99% catch probability does not tell the full story. Yeah, he botched it for sure. There's a world where he starts back on it, gets a jump, makes a pretty routine catch.
Yep.
Very routine, in fact. But after he started in, it was already done. He was not going to backtrack and get that leaping over his head. That was a horrific play. But the Volpe play, way worse, in my opinion. Holmes, again, what do you want to power rank the 3 most important saves of this year? I would say Sunday Night Baseball against the Dodgers after losing the first 2 games of that series.
Yep.
It sounds ridiculous in retrospect, but he struck out Mookie Betts with 2 men on to end that game. Huge save, but obviously traffic on the bases, hanging by a thread, got the job done. Second most important, opening game of the Red Sox series, blew that. Third most important last night, because I would say won the first 2. I mean, this is a gift. You got the Ben Rice homer. You're not expecting to win this game, and then suddenly you are. You got to save that game when you go steal the late lead. But I would say third most important save of the season. Doesn't bring a lot of confidence that he's blown 2 of the 3 most important saves of the season and nearly blew the number 1. And none of these were 1-run leads. Think about how uncomfortable you felt yesterday knowing Holmes was going to the 9th with a 5-3 lead on the road in Baltimore, even against a slumping Orioles team. Now subtract a run from that lead and think about what that might feel in the playoffs. Just almost no chance. I can't even think about what it would be like for Clay Holmes to escape a tight situation like that without allowing an earned run. And this is a guy who had a 0 ERA into the end of May. Yeah. 0. How the fuck did we get here again? Not a tough decision after the season, by the way, to let him walk again. Yep. We don't have to have those conversations like, oh, that's tough. I mean, you don't want to pay guaranteed money to a closer, and they've been good in the bullpen lab, but you don't want to replace someone with his pedigree. No, you can replace somebody with his pedigree. We'll see ya. Kyle Stowers leads off. 5-3 feels like a lot. Nice. It's not like, Ben Rice 3-run homer, different than a Ben Rice 2-run shot, different than a Ben Rice solo shot. But Stowers leads off with a single. Immediately the tying run is at the plate, and immediately it's Colton Cowser pinch hitting Ryan O'Hearn, who's been one of the best hitters in baseball this year, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman. As soon as that leadoff hitter is on base, you're already like, this is not going to go well. This isn't easy. Mm-hmm. He had pretty much one guaranteed out here. not to be rude to Kyle Stowers, but all things considered, it's the kind of guy you have to retire in this situation. Once he lets him on base, you're like, any one of these guys could tie the game. Wouldn't be surprising at all in the least. I don't blame
strikes on him too. Again.
Yeah, I don't blame him for walking Rutschman, obviously. I don't blame him for pitching around O'Hearn a little bit either. Check O'Hearn's numbers under the hood. Way better. But yeah, once you get Gunnar, got to win the game. And the ball was only in one defender's glove, Anthony Volpe's glove.
Yeah.
And we're talking about tough. Hey, Alex Verdugo in the sun field, in left field, botched it from the first step. It was already over. Looked terrible. And there are three people to blame here. Verdugo is one of them. Number two, I'm ranking Holmes third. But the Anthony Volpe play is as elementary as it gets. It's a slow two-hopper with a catcher running to second. Feed Torres with the flip.
Yep.
It is over. The game is over. The game was not over on the Verdugo fly ball. The game was over on the Volpe grounder. And you're right. The Yankees do treat their prospects like shit. They don't give them anything. They handed Volpe the starting job that I would say he played very well in spring training. But if they want to send him back to the minors at some point, I don't think anybody would have argued last April, May, June, July. And the argument to the contrary was it'll hurt his confidence irreparably. What is this doing? What is letting him play for a year and a half with no repercussions doing? Because now he's not hustling. The stolen run that would have, made Clay Holmes' blown save against the Red Sox into a footnote in a 4-3 Yankees win. Game on the line. Defense doesn't match defense earlier. He made a spectacular run-saving play in the first inning of yesterday's game. And then by the time we got to the most important play of the game and probably the easiest chance he had all game, fumbling down his leg. Physical errors happen. But that doesn't mean we can't dissect them and say they shouldn't. Mental errors really shouldn't. He's also been susceptible to mental errors. Nobody needs the All-Star break more than him. At one point in May, the discussion was, can we fit a third shortstop on the AL All-Star team behind Gunnar and Bobby Witt Jr.?
Not even close.
He had an 815 OPS in May, and the defense was there. And we were like, he's probably going to get snubbed. It's a 666 Devils OPS right now. He's lucky he's still on a major league roster. So he's my number one culprit.
Yep. Think about all these shortstops. I mean, the fact that this discussion, Orioles fans were right. As much as I can't stand them, the fact that there was even comparisons between Anthony Volpe and Gunnar Henderson at any point was an absolute joke. You even look deeper into the league. Bobby Witt Jr., Ellie De La Cruz, CJ Abrams, Ezekiel Tovar, Mason Wynn, Zach Neto, Jeremy Pena. Anthony Volpe is not even close to being in the leagues of any of those players. 41 games since he was hot. Volpe's hitting 191 with a 222 on base percentage and a 270 slugging. That's 42% of his season. That's half of the season. You cannot do that. All of his stats are back to last year's incompetence. His power's down. He's walking a little bit more. He's striking out a little bit less. But overall, it's the same issue where he's devolved back into whatever is going on with his mechanics, trying to uppercut every pitch. What really bothers me is like he's turned into another Yankee who's like looking for walks. I forgot what was it yesterday. It was yesterday's game. He looked at a strike down the middle and like made a face and tried to argue with the ump. And it's like, dude, swing. Every Yankees player in a 3-0 count or a 3-1 count is looking for that extra ball to live to see a walk. Nobody's aggressive. Nobody's going after it. And now Volpe, we've turned him into one of the malcontents who's going to argue with the ump because I don't even know. He's trying to steal a ball so he can get ahead in the count. He can get a walk or more ahead in the count. I don't understand it. When you have a hitter's count, the goal is to get a hit. The goal is to not stand there and wait for another ball to come in the next 3 or 4 pitches to hope that you can get on base. I'll nitpick this entire series and walk our way backwards. Like, I don't need to talk about Anthony Volpe anymore. If you think that, whatever you want to think about Anthony Volpe is fine. Yes, the defense is good, but the play in which you have night and day is unacceptable. You cannot bat 300 and do what you were doing over the first month and a half of the season and then become an unplayable minor leaguer for the next half. It just doesn't work like that.
Yep.
But if you want to look at yesterday, right? To me, I was never expecting the Yankees to win that game. It was like you took the first two, you're going into the next game. Like in theory,
Rodon at 11:30 a.m.
Yeah, not going to happen. Like Rodon pitching, going against Dean Kramer. Dean Kramer is not good, but he somehow kicks the Yankees' ass all the time. Like whatever, you write it off as a loss. But what do? The Orioles are still not hitting with runners in scoring position. The Yankees manage to fight back as best they can. They build your hopes up, and then they have it come crashing down. So that, to me, unacceptable in a vacuum. You cannot do that. Go to game 2. All right. You know what? You responded. Friday night was the benches clearing incident. You punch back quickly the next day. Grayson Rodriguez, arguably having an all-star first half, score 4 runs in the first against him. Pretty good, right?
That was awesome.
Sort of, but not really. Because you allow Grayson Rodriguez to pitch 5 full innings after he threw 33 pitches in the first. You were completely inefficient from innings 2 through 5. And then you score 2 runs over the next 8 innings on home runs. You don't get you put 2 runners in scoring position over the next 8 innings. The offense cannot remain consistent. It cannot remain relentless, and it can't chase a starter from the game. So, like, that game should have gotten a lot more out of hand than it did. The Yankees should be scoring more runs consistently, and they can't be getting them in bunches and then making themselves susceptible to getting burnt on the back door. Like the Orioles, if they weren't completely incompetent over whatever stretch it's been for them, like the last 2 weeks, like that game they could have come back on very easily.
Should have.
And also should have, but didn't. So, like, okay, they got after Grayson Rodriguez. They did the job. They were lucky that was all they needed to do. But if you fast forward and you hypothesize what might happen in the postseason, if the Yankees, in theory, are facing the Orioles in, the wild card series or the DS or the CS, whatever, and they get after Corbin Burns and they run him up to 35 pitches in the first inning and score 4 runs, and then let him just cruise through 5 or 6 innings, you didn't do your job. The job is to get him out of the game by the 3rd. And you have the offense to do it because you batted around enough. You've seen enough pitches from him. And they just lie down. And same goes for yesterday, right? Ben Rice hits that homer. It's 5-3. There's still 0 outs. Soto, Judge, Verdugo, 1, 2, 3 when Craig Kimbrell's on the ropes. I don't get it. And then you go to Friday, right? Friday, great day. They win the game. But how low are we going to set the bar? Cade Povich, a minor league pitcher against Garrett Cole, he got optioned after this game because he's not that good. The Yankees still can't hit left-handed pitching. They barely even got to him. Could have been a lot worse because you bet DJ LeMahieu leadoff in that game. He killed rallies in that, made some of the worst outs you'll ever see. Ramon Urias kicking Cole's ass still. He's batting like .420 against him. Gleyber Torres throwing out a mile on a steal attempt trying to get the Yankees in scoring position. Volpe makes that error. Tommy Kahnle, I don't even know what that throw was to first base that almost got runners on first and second after Cole exited the game. Throws a meatball on an 0-2 count that gets another base runner. The Yankees had 7 hits, 8 walks, and they only scored 4 runs. The Orioles went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and the Yankees 4-1 win, like, closer than it should have been. At times, it felt like, okay, when's the lead going to go? When are they going to cough this up? When is one timely home run going to bring the Orioles back into this? So, like, yeah, I'll give the Yankees credit for winning the series. They won the series, but, like, now what are we talking about? The collapse on Sunday. The Yankees could have finished the first half 9-17, and we would have forgotten about that.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been like, holy shit, we just swept the Orioles. We're in first place. Like, that was the antidote we needed to erase a 6-16 stretch or a 6-17 stretch that should have never happened. They finished the first half 8-18 with that loss yesterday. That shouldn't have happened. And now we're back to talking about it. And it's not because we want to, it's because it's more of the same. A new worst loss of the season in succession over this month and a half span or whatever it's been. It's not getting any better. They look like they're putting stuff behind them. They are not. This team is not in sync. Their heads are not in the game. They are not playing smart baseball. They are not rallying when they need to. And that's just that. You cannot lose yesterday's game after coming back the manner in which you did. If you lost 3-2, we're having a much more positive conversation. And I think most people are agreeing with that. You lose 6-5 by fumbling the game away because you can't handle yourself in a high pressure moment. That's much more indicative of who you are as a team, as opposed to if you were to just lose a game that you should have never won 3-2 because the Orioles were fighting to survive a sweep and badly needed to get back on track in the All-Star break. But you had them on the ropes. You were one punch away, and you allowed them to slip through and then sneak in a haymaker to knock you out.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly what the Orioles needed, too. That's what you saw from Orioles Twitter. Oh, my God, did we need a walk-off? You sure did. Sure did, and you got it. But you better earn one. Like, I would love earning one. I would have said, okay, tip my cap. Even if, look, Kimbrel walk 3-run homer, and I would still say the Yankees earned it. If Clay Holmes had gone, okay, I raise you, walk 3-run homer, I would have been like, well, joke's on me. Good job, Orioles. You got some traffic on the bases, and you took advantage. The Orioles made 4 outs in that game. The Orioles made so many outs in that game. Only 2 were recorded on the board. Absolutely horrific. They need a break so bad. We want to talk about the positives. I mean, does anybody want to hear us talk about the positives? Somebody in our Twitter mentions was like, relax. What did they say? It's just one game and we still won the series. There were a ton of positives from this series. You need to chill out. The Orioles are only 1 game up on us. You're right. Hang the banner. Only 1 game behind AL East leader when you had a chance to make a statement. That's good. That's awesome. I'm glad we're only 1 game behind the Orioles. Luis Teal appears to be returning a corner.
Yes.
Hopefully. And you want to talk about blowable leads. It was 4-0, and then suddenly it was 4-1. Couple guys on base. Could have been a big equalizer there early in the game, and it wouldn't have been that surprising. Like you said, early lead, 4-0. Yankees punch first. Invite the Orioles to punch back. They almost do, and Heel works his way out of it somehow. Instead of getting tired, relies on the slider instead of the changeup. So it's not even fair to say he looks like the same guy. He looks like kind of an elevated version, a new version of the same guy who dominated earlier this season. So that's nice. Let's see what happens when he gets a long break. Aaron Boone hinted yesterday that the rotation is going to have him in the 5th starter role in the second half. So that'll be like a 10-day gap between starts or so. Okay, let's see if that works or helps or hurts. Garrett Cole's first start being Garrett Cole. I never thought he looked quite as bad as his ERA entering Friday's game, but he also never looked anywhere close to as good as he did in Friday's start. So good for Garrett Cole. Again, the Yankees took 2 big steps forward in the rotation, which is important because the rotation has somehow been worse than the offense during this horrific stretch. That said, offense wasn't terribly impressive. Hanging on for dear life on Friday until they get that 1 2-out insurance run thanks to Juan Soto right before Clay Holmes comes in and starts an all-out beanball war. Flurry early, but not often on Saturday. They end up kind of hanging on for dear life on Saturday as well. I am certainly watching that game with a 5-run lead going. I remember blowing a 5-run lead right before the All-Star break to Houston. Lo and behold, it was actually pretty easy. They get the job done. I think we avoid the theatrics because at that point I'm thinking, all right, Rodon's going to get his head kicked off tomorrow. So all we'll remember is that we won 2 out of 3 and Rodon's still a problem and we'll move on. No, little did I know. It got even worse. Rodon's outing, not that impressive.
He's getting less and less efficient with every passing outing. Yeah. I don't know how you throw 100 pitches in 4 innings, but Jesus.
And I don't know how you do that, and it's kind of like the gold standard for best start in the last month and a half. But, he didn't get his teeth kicked in. He survived. That's interesting. The New York Yankees just drafted those looking for a draft tracker. A lot of the scuttlebutt this year was they're going to take a Yankees-style college bat in the first round, whoever falls to them. There's like these 10 guys, some infielders. We'll see who they get. They went injured starting pitcher with a 5.80 ERA in the first round. Strikeout guy, but still. They went college starting pitcher in the second round. They just went college starting pitcher in the third round and college starting pitcher in the 4th round. Miami's Gage Zeal, a 4-year junior in the 4th round, the 89th ranked MLB Pipeline prospect pre-draft, taken 119th overall.
Okay.
Sounds like a steal to me, but either way, we're somehow 4 rounds deep. The Yankees have not selected a position player in this draft. I guess they think they're good. We're good on offense. No need.
We're good.
The farm is surprisingly weak right now, and that's going to rear its ugly head at the trade deadline. But okay, this is the worst first half ending team I've ever seen. The 2021 to 2024 Yankees. Astros, they blew a 7-2 lead in the 9th, in the same situation on the road, trying to sweep a series that no one ever thought they could sweep. Garrett Cole, remember, complete game, blew one by Yordan Alvarez, could have lost it, didn't. Nestor beat them. We're riding high, then we're riding low. Last year, they have a late lead on the Cubs. A forgotten horrible game because obviously last year just kind of goes down the tubes in general, so you don't remember the particulars. But the last game before the All-Star break was the Yankees coming off a 6-3 win over the Cubs. Garrett Cole to Michael King. Stanton hit a big homer. They were 49-41. You're like, all right, sounds like a playoff team to me, I guess. Volpe hits a big home run in the 6th. The Yankees have it's a 1-1 tie, becomes a 4-1 lead in the bottom of the 6th at home. Oops, Gleyber Torres misplay, and oops, it spirals out of control. And it's tied in the top of the 7th all of a sudden. And oops, the Cubs score some more runs in the top of the 8th and one additional run in the top of the 9th for good measure off Nick Ramirez. And we lost. And then that's what we're thinking about the whole All-Star break. This team, I think, I could eat my words in a couple of weeks. I'm sure I will. But I think they have a better chance of recovering after the All-Star break than the other 2 teams I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Because the horrific, it's not like the old "you can't hurt me" fallacy. Like, just watching a horrific stretch of play, 8-18 is pretty fucking bad. Like, what's it going to be worse than 8-18? It could be. Famous quote, "What are you going to do, stab me?" from the man getting stabbed. Could be worse, but that's pretty bad. That's about as bad as a baseball team can play, especially a team with this much talent. So probably worst case scenario is that just happens again, but I've already seen it. Additionally, the schedule gets a little bit easier, not right away, but the August schedule is easier than the July schedule and the June schedule. And I think this team is going to have a transformative trade deadline because I think Brian Cashman is not as limp as we make him out to be. He's got obvious faults. He should have walked away from this job 7 years ago, but he's not going to stand pat and trade. He's not going to trade for Keenan Middleton this year and call it a day. He's not going to pull a 2020 trade deadline when we were like, maybe he'll get Archie Bradley. Oh, he got absolutely no one. Okay, let's go to battle. I think he's got this is going to be a 2022 style trade deadline where a lot of pieces change hands. And the question then is, will those pieces be valuable? Will those pieces be healthy? And will he subtract too much from the current roster without adding enough to upgrade instead of basically tread water? That's a whole different matter entirely. Could blow it again, but I do think he's going to take big swings at it, especially because the wild card race is tight. Nothing is guaranteed. There are a lot of middling teams. You add 2 or 3 of the right pieces, you could go right back to being a World Series favorite, or at least an American League favorite. Because right now, the best team in the American League is the Boston Red Sox, going 21-9 the last month plus. They're very good. They're athletic. They're also inexperienced. They shouldn't be. They should not be the best team in the American League. They're a good team. I think they're a good team, but I think the Yankees have an opportunity to go right out and take it from this Orioles team that's stuck in the mud a little bit, from a Red Sox team playing over their heads a little bit. The Guardians, the Astros might be the second best team in the American League right now. Like they have no pitching. It doesn't matter, but they have no pitching.
Yeah.
So you can either have yourself a trade deadline and shake this off, or you can have a rematch of the 2021 ALCS for the Red Sox and Astros played, and the Astros had no pitching, and it still doesn't really make sense that the Red Sox didn't win that series. And I think they'd beat the Astros in the playoffs this time around. So chew on that and go do your trade deadline bidding, because we don't want that. Like, we can stop it. It's like Democrats nominating Joe Biden. Like, well, that's what you get, It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be tough to come back from this. All right, or you could do something about it. That's kind of where the Yankees are at right now.
Yeah. Positives, as you were saying, a couple of things that kind of have flown under the radar because everything else has sucked. Yeah. And I mean, it's unfortunate. And you look at these you look at these performances and you say to yourself, well, I guess it kind of doesn't matter because the team is 8-18 over this span. So, all right. Nonetheless, I've said a lot of mean, bad things about Gleyber Torres. A lot of it was warranted, but pretty much since that Mets series, 266 with a 748 OPS. Not the greatest, but guess what? That's progress, and that is probably exactly what we need him to do. Defense has also been pretty clean. I don't know if you agree, but
yeah,
made some nice plays in this series, particularly that I saw that caught my eye. So I was like, okay, very nice. We had the Trent Grisham snafu, a couple of snafus when he lost the ball at Tropicana, but I'm not blaming that on him. I will blame him for that misplay against the Reds, but nonetheless, his last 22 games, 286 with an 867 OPS, considerable sample size, 63 plate appearances. So he's starting to come along. And what do you know? You give the guy at bats instead of not playing him at all, and you see progress. Good thinking, Aaron Boone. And then we have Austin Wells. The batting average isn't where it needs to be, 234 over his last 20 games, but 346 on base, 532 slugging. That is an 877 OPS, 4 homers, 10 RBIs. Had that huge homer on Saturday that we thought would knock Grayson Rodriguez out of the game early. It did not. Either way, though, you're seeing, and Ben Rice is obviously a positive. We don't have to go over that, but yeah, I think those have kind of flown under the radar a bit. And as you mentioned about the bullpen kind of coming into focus, can't say enough about Michael Tonkin. Tim Hill's been pretty damn good. Jake Cousin's been pretty damn good. Like, do I think that these guys will play meaningful roles in September and beyond? I'm not sure about that, but they're at least creating a conversation, or at least giving Brian Cashman some sort of foundation for the trade deadline. And he could say to himself, you know what? I can upgrade and still have Tonkin, Cousins, and Hill as the last guys in my bullpen. And that seems pretty friggin' good if we can make that happen. So look at that. We got some things to kind of look forward to, but as a whole, the starting pitching needs to figure it out. Nestor Cortez on the road is just it's so exhausting to watch. Yeah. And it's inexplicable, and it needs to stop. Whatever Carlos Rodon is doing, again, needs to stop. His last outing, I don't even know what the last outing was before the Orioles won. What was that?
Rays got first inninged by the Rays again, where he 4 runs with no outs and same pitch mix shit in the first. Yeah. And then in the second inning, he goes, I guess I should do what Matt Blake told me to do. Oh, it's much better now. Okay, well, I'll learn jack shit from that. Yeah. So I don't even want to be mad about Carlos Rodon, but he's making it easy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's unacceptable to even say that to the media afterward. Like, figure it the fuck out. You are a 7-8 year MLB veteran. You have had Cy Young caliber seasons. If your pitching coach is telling you to do something and deviate from the norm or whatever the usual process is, it's for a reason. It's because you are performing terribly. And also, on what planet are we going to sit there and think going with a 2-pitch mix in the first inning is a smart strategy? If you narrow down the pitch selection, you are giving hitters an easier way to guess your pitches. It's like, it's not even, this doesn't require analysis beyond like common knowledge. Maybe the average baseball fan might not get it because they aren't paying attention to those types of things. But like the next level up is looking at that stuff and they're saying, oh yeah, obviously, duh. So like, why are we saying this shit to the media afterwards? And why are you not acting on it? Again, as a professional, as someone who needs to stop the bleeding. I need more length out of Marcus Stroman. That's just it. Again, veteran player who's been here for a while. Can't be going 4 1/3 while this team is floundering. Someone needs to step up and do something. I like what we saw out of Garrett Cole against the Orioles. He ran into them at the perfect time. They're struggling. They're not having a good go of it right now. So it was nice to him to capitalize there and go 6 innings. I thought that was a great exclamation point for him right before the All-Star break. Got the series off to a great start again. Ended up finishing this series with a win. Felt good. First series win in 7 tries or 8 tries or whatever it was. But the collapse is all anybody's going to remember. It's the highlight of the entire thing. Or, hitting Kjerstad in the head, that's the other highlight of this thing.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that we can't look at the Judge Soto back-to-back homers, the Austin Wells homer, Trent Grisham going 3 for 3 yesterday.
And I'll be honest, when Grisham walked in the 9th yesterday, like I was starting to feel it again. It was kind of like, I think they're going to tie this up. Like I actually didn't think they were going to squander it. I was like, holy shit. Like they got the bad Kimbrel and they're taking advantage because it was also a tough 3-2. It was right above the zone and Grisham took. And I was like, that's a great take. And he's having a phenomenal day and they're going to find a way to get this run home. I did not think Rice was going to get 3 home. And I didn't think that Clay Holmes was going to do what Clay Holmes did, though I obviously wasn't floored by it. I didn't have to pick my jaw back up. But the Grisham thing, I was like, oh, they're actually going to tie this. Like, they're starting to be the Yankees again. And they were, and then they were super the Yankees again in the bottom of the inning when they fucked up.
Yep. Volpe's diving catch. No one's going to remember that. Did I think it was the most impressive play in the world? No, but it saved a couple runs, and he was positioned well, and he made a good jump on it. I don't know. Verdugo had a let off one of the innings with a big hit, and he's been slumping significantly. Soto had a good series. Just don't remember it. It's not front of mind. Front of mind is what you fucking did in the bottom of the 9th yesterday, beyond comprehension. So we can't be blamed for covering what we're seeing. We're seeing some of the worst things ever. And they almost got bailed out by the Blue Jays yesterday, who were up 7-0, gave up 7 runs in the 5th inning, and then ended up winning 8-7. But the Yankees once again outdid the competition in terms of futility. So this is what we're talking about. Do we want to talk about Friday night a whole lot?
I mean, not really, but I do just feel like we need some justice for like the Brandon Hyde thing got out of control, and so did the discourse. So first and foremost, Clay Holmes hit Heston Kjerstad on the helmet. It was horrible. It was an 0-2 pitch with 1 out in the 9th of a must-save game. You can't blow that save, and he didn't, and good for him. But if the Yankees had, I mean, look, I was already upset. I ended up being very upset by the end of this series. Sent me into the All-Star break in a funk, but it didn't even compare to what would have happened to me if Clay Holmes had blown Garrett Cole's start to start the series after hitting Kjerstad with nobody on and 1 out and an 0-2 count. That would have sent me into a fugue state that has not been equaled in this fandom perhaps ever. I would have lost my mind. I would have wandered around outside for an hour on Friday night, eating off the ground. So good job by Clay Holmes getting that done, ultimately. Hat tip to Clay Holmes for doing his job in a 3-run game. Heston Kjerstad's health is the most important thing here. It was a very scary accident. He got up. He looked fine. He was supposed to play Saturday. He got scratched. He's on the concussion IL. That complicates this. Obviously, that's the most important part of the exchange. Scary, bad grip got away from Clay Holmes at the worst possible time in the worst weather. I also don't blame Brandon Hyde for being upset in the moment that happened to his player.
No.
Not even a little bit. And so a lot of the fun discourse was Orioles fans going, you'd want Aaron Boone to be angry if that happened. Yes, I would want Aaron Boone to be upset that happened to him. But Brandon Hyde went out there looking to spark the Orioles and looking to start a fight. Yeah. And Clay Holmes, who's felt like shit for a month, walked from the mound to go to the plate and check out Kjerstad, and Hyde said, fuck you. To a pitcher who's at a low moment, showing contrition for something that he lost control of, and obviously a low moment in a string of low moments. But all the rest of the low moments only affected Holmes and his teammates. This one affected an opposing player, someone who he clearly felt for on a human level, and Brandon Hyde wouldn't let him check in on him. So then the Yankees dugout began to chirp at Hyde for being disrespectful to Holmes. which he was. You can see Austin Wells in the clip shrug and go, what is this guy's deal, after he flips out at Holmes. I don't blame him for being upset. I blame him for the way he treated Holmes. That was completely out of line. And it just had no bearing on, like, sure, he's allowed to be upset, but I don't see how that helps. How does that help?
How about barreling into Austin Wells?
How about barreling into Austin Wells and then with an opportunity to be the bigger man in the postgame when, again, every neutral arbiter is a Yankees hater, is rooting for the Orioles, and wants catnip. And no matter what Brandon Hyde says there, people are going to take his side, right? Because no one's going to come out of that press conference being like, hey, this guy's a jerk off. Like, the Yankees are the good guys. You've already got them in your corner.
Yeah.
So you can at least be honest, and you can say, the correct order of operations, because a lot of Orioles fans were misquoting Brandon Hyde because he gave it to him and allowed them to, and they said, what happened? And he said, heard some stuff from the dugout I didn't like and maybe lost it a little bit. So a bunch of Orioles fans are saying, classless Yankees chirping this guy on the ground from the dugout. How dare you? What do you have? What gets in your mind? Why would you chirp? What do you have to chirp about? Ignoring the reality that he dismissed Clay Holmes with a fuck you. And some Orioles fans being language cops too, being like, who cares what he said in the moment?
Yeah.
I don't care that he said F you to a player. That doesn't mean anything. You can say it whoever you want, say it to an umpire 100 times. It wasn't the language I was concerned about. It was the dismissiveness. And that moment was when the Yankees dugout woke up and went, whoa, okay, we're trying to help and you won't let us, clearly, for some reason, because you want to fight here. So now why don't you get off the field? Brandon Hyde had many opportunities to correct the record and say, I let my temper get the best of me. I snapped at one of the Yankees. Then the dugout let me have it, and I wasn't in a mood to be able to deal with it, so I went after them. You had so many chances to say that, but instead he painted it as I was out there concerned for my guy, and the Yankees were chirping at me, so I lost my mind. No, you chirped first. You ignited the chirping. So if we're going to play the blame game, blame lies on you. But you know what? You knew that already. Because you wanted the blame, because you did it on purpose, because you wanted to start something to get your slumping, sleepy team motivated. And it's hacky when Aaron Boone does it, when he yells at an umpire down 8 in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
And it's hacky when you do it. And it's worse when Brandon Hyde did it, because like you said, he bumped Austin Wells. He really started like, here comes the dugout. Here comes the bullpen. It got nasty. Freddie Gonzalez, what was he up to? What could have set him off so much? No idea. Again, the disrespect began with Hyde and ended with what Hyde started. So it was refreshing to not see that culminate in a big old mess on Saturday. Of course, Dean Kramer comes up and in on Aaron Judge with 2 outs and nobody on in the first inning. Most obvious intentional hit by pitch of all time. Dean Kramer angry at himself in the aftermath purposefully so that he didn't look quite so obvious. Yankees don't retaliate. Good for them. Not sure why Dean Kramer wasn't ejected for hitting the third batter of the game with the bases clear, the opponent's best player. Somebody already expressed displeasure in the last series for being hit in the hand, hitting him in the elbow pretty close to the hand. Should have been an immediate ejection. Should have been 8 1/3 innings of Orioles bullpen. I digress. Brandon Hyde, I don't blame you for being upset. I also don't blame you for reacting impulsively in the moment, but I'm pretty sure you acted with intention and you got what you wanted.
Yeah. And don't forget, Dean Kramer was also a victim of Juan Soto showing him up, and we don't know earlier in the season. We don't know how that played into it too. But yeah, look, Orioles fans, I'll side with you again. Sided with you the first time about the Gunnar Henderson, Anthony Volpe discussion. I'd be pissed too. Yankees have hit 10 Orioles batters this season.
Absolutely.
Yankees have hit the most players in Major League Baseball. They have a bad bullpen. I wish it was better. They up until a few weeks ago, they didn't have their best starting pitcher. Clark Schmidt went down. They had to cycle guys in and out of the rotation. I understand every team has injuries, but the Yankees are uniquely hit with them every year, and they're found scrambling. And some of this is inexplicable. It's just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why it's happening, but like, you guys are also picking fights for no reason or just for the sake of wanting more people to be on the Yankees hate bandwagon, because the Yankees badly need to win Friday night's game. It's an 0-2 count against Kjerstad. It's pouring rain out, and it couldn't be more obvious that was an accident, a mistake, a misthrow, a slip, whatever you want to call it, and we're still going to weaponize it to create more angry discourse around the Yankees to try and make them the villains. And it's just a tired act at this point.
Did you see the screenshots from people saying like, look at Holmes's release point. It's pretty clear from the start where he's aiming. Like the screenshot police came out. I've never seen such a little understanding of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's always how it goes. It's like, when are you going to... The Yankees aren't the villains anymore. They haven't been the villains in 15 years.
And maybe they should be. They shouldn't be hitting people in the head, but maybe they should be the villains. Maybe that's what they're missing, but they weren't on Friday night.
The Yankees have been a doormat for the better part of 15 years. And it's like, we're still going to try and angle in all these talking points to make them look even worse. And it's very obvious what Brandon Hyde was doing. I'd try to light a fire under my team if they were slumping and one of my young hitters got clocked in the head. But the manner in which he did it was completely inappropriate. Whether I'm not complaining about it. I don't, I'm not calling for his suspension, but like as an adult and as somebody who knows how to act in a situation that's fairly heated, like saying fuck off to the guy who's trying to make amends after clearly being remorseful for a mistake that he made. And then talking shit to the Yankees dugout after you had done that, and then using Austin Wells as a shield because you weren't actually going to charge at the assistant coach, whoever it was. You were not going to. That's why you stopped and let Austin Wells put his hand up like this and block you without any effort. So it was clearly theatrics, executed poorly. And it's just unfortunate how these conversations always go. Yes, the Yankees need to fucking stop hitting batters. I would 100% agree with that. But
100%.
Also, Orioles, don't act like you guys haven't done it. You almost knocked out Cody Bellinger. You almost knocked out Corey Seager. You almost knocked out Aaron Judge for the season by going up and in on their hands. And the Yankees relievers who hit batters with sweeping sliders in the other box that hit the back of their foot, or pitches on the inside corner that barely graze their elbow that are like the most common HBPs in the game. Like, give me a break. Stop.
Yeah. Overall, give me a break. Stop. And I'm glad we're stopping for the All-Star break because I can't take much more of this. This is going to be the 4 best days of the entire year. No Yankees baseball, no off-season rumors. I mean, let's do a little trade deadline on Thursday's show, I think. Because we're going to have more fun conversations. I wanted Hunter Harvey a little bit. I don't think that you did. Well, and that's over.
I want to know. We can foreshadow this for next time. It's like, why again are the Yankees not dealing well ahead of the deadline when the needs have been obvious, for like a month and a half now, and like the best way to neutralize getting dicked around closer to the trade deadline is finding someone who's like seemingly a fit but isn't a massive home run but would absolutely improve your roster. And again, Brian Cashman's not doing it. I don't know why. The Rangers last year dealt for Aroldis Chapman on June 29th. I'm not saying make a move like that, but like you got to do something before the few days leading up to the deadline, because A, you're going to be caught in a bidding war. B, there's going to be other contenders involved in the mix that the team being approached to about the trade are going to be more inclined to send them to that team because they don't want to make the Yankees better. And B, you just want to have your ducks in a row in the best possible manner that you can as you get closer to the deadline, because now you have all these needs and now all the buckets need to be filled within 2 weeks, and that's hard to do. It's hard to do. Brian Cashman has a hard job. Does he do the best at it all the time? No. Pretty damn good at it. Am I frustrated with a lot of the things that he does? Absolutely. We all are. But why are you going to make it harder for yourself? Why are the Royals making deals, 2.5, 3 weeks before the deadline, and we're not? Something's off.
If you're going to have to pay a high price this year, which you are, then you might as well pay that high price for an extra 2 weeks or 10 days of the player in question instead of waiting. Brian Cashman did it with Andrew Benintendi, too. He hopped the line a couple of years ago and said, I want this guy. We just got our ass kicked by the Mets. I'm going to go trade for Andrew Benintendi 3 minutes after the final out. That was nice. Unfortunately, I didn't know he was terrible and had a loose hook bone in his wrist, but that was a nice decision to make. Let's maybe make one of those again. Jonathan India is going to be I guarantee you, I think we're going to talk about this more on Thursday because, I don't think a lot's going to change between now and then. I don't think the Yankees are going to pull off many deals. I don't think many other teams are either. I don't know if the Reds want to go for it or not. They're right in that wild card mix. You're cutting off yourself. You're getting rid of a leader if you get rid of Jonathan India, but you're also solving an infield logjam. The hair would be weird. Getting rid of the beard would be strange. But you're looking at a 27-year-old prototypical leadoff hitter, one of the most patient hitters in baseball. Surprising pop. 377 OBP, 275 average. The OPS is over 800. He's not what, he's a prototypical leadoff hitter. He would be too perfect a Yankee. He's probably going to a team that values things like that instead of the Yankees who prop up flimsy frauds atop and randomly bad Alex Verdugo and DJ LeMahieu up there. Jonathan India would be a great. You all know what I'm not going to even say it. It's too obvious. But the Yankees should go ahead and hop the line for Jonathan India. They probably won't. We'll be talking about this again on Thursday. I was hoping to have a nice 5-day break from Yankees baseball. Unfortunately, Juan Soto just said at All-Star Media Day that Shohei Ohtani is one of the players he most wants to play with. An impossible thing unless he signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we'll have to talk about that on Thursday and on Tuesday and on Wednesday. I'm sure that Juan Soto will be all over the broadcast, and that's going to be what they say as he steps to the plate instead of talking about how fun it is that he's hitting Paul Skeens. So look forward to all that, but I do love the All-Star break. The Yankees can't lose any games during the All-Star break. They can only lose discourse, and that's going to happen anyway, so you might as well embrace it. We'll be right back here, 2 o'clock Eastern, Thursday, same time, same channel. Turn on your notifications. Would love to see you. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes. Please reach out. Let's talk. We're at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. yanksgoyard.com. That's where all the content is. Thank you guys for reading. We've seen a lot of you audience members pop in, and we appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have not just yet, send it to your family and friends. Let's have some fun. Let's get more people talking about Yankees baseball, whether it's good or bad. We're here to talk about all of it with you. Enjoy the next few days. Derby tonight, right? Derby tonight. All-Star game tomorrow. Couple days off. Maybe get a couple drinks in you. Have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to you again on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern live right here. As we gear up for the second half of the season. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
We will see you too soon, unfortunately. We love you, but when we see you again, it means more Yankees baseball, and that's a big yikes for me. But second half has to start sometime. Might as well get a couple drinks in you. Might as well enjoy the All-Star and enjoy a couple podcasts. Until then,